Fleeting Joy. Prologue. Dying to Live. Monday, the 4th of September, 2034. Skye had only one memory of her great-grandma. Despite being 94 and needing a cane, she never dressed down. Her accent was likewise unwavering, holding fast onto its Jamaican origins even after 60 years in England. In the memory, she wore a red dress and adorned herself with pearls. Skye was 4 and had been sitting on the carpet, quietly playing with a teddy bear as her parents shared tea with her great-grandma. A pair of hands clapped, startling Skye into the conversation. For no reason, great-grandma shook her clasped palms. Her bulging veins networked over her wrists like mole tunnels. Skye's mom set a hand on her chest. No. Don't scare Grace, Nan, Papa said in a hushed tone. You still won't believe me, Great-grandma said, as if wounded. Never said that. I know Grandpa got stabbed by his cousin. The cousin did have a demon. Great-grandma tapped her index finger against her forehead. He twitched and talked funny. He hanged himself. All the demons doing. Nan, please. Papa looked to Skye, who sat wide-eyed. There are no such things as demons. Mama gave Papa a tap on the forearm. You cannot assume to know everything, Samuel. I saw it, Great-grandma insisted. I saw it. A decade later, Skye would think back to the memory as she helped her Auntie Marina care for Papa. His limbs twitched and jolted against his will. His words had become disorganized and sometimes indecipherable. And he would get angry. He would yell and punch walls and himself and once even Skye's stomach. He had been so mellow just a few years ago, but something belligerent had possessed him. It was no demon. It was Huntington's disease, and sometimes Skye wondered if a long-dead relative who had stabbed her great-grandpa had been afflicted with the same illness. A hereditary disease, Huntington's could take up to 20 years to down a person. Symptoms could come about at any point in one's life. The risk depends on what genetic smoothie the biological parents imparted upon their child. CAG is the string of letters in DNA that matters in Huntington's. It's fine if a person has 1 CAG or 2 CAG or even 30. It's when you hit 40 repeats that you're in trouble. And the more repeats a person has, the sooner the disease would enter their lives. Her father had passed away in the late summer of 2034, having jumped to his death instead of trudging on for a couple more years. Skye was 22, and she hoped that she was completely free of the horror of this disease. So she got tested for it. The results showed that she had 50 CAGs, giving her a 50-50 chance that her symptoms would already manifest by her late 20s. She'd lose her limbs and her voice. She'd lose her independence. And only after 2 decades of suffering would she lose her life. Unless something else killed her first. Skye sat with her arms folded over herself in the doctor's office as she listened to Dr. Alya Almasi go through the next steps. Therapy, support groups, a healthy lifestyle, not all the NHS would cover until she rolled into her grave. It sounded like palliative care because that's what it was, really. Care for Huntington's patients starts long before symptoms come along, Dr. Almasi said in a light Scottish accent. She had these doleful brown eyes that shone as if she were always close to tears, even when smiling. And that care starts with you becoming your own advocate. Skye's face was a stone wall. It's okay to be in shock. The doctor reached to rub Skye's shoulder. Again, stone. All Skye was thinking of was what her closest friend, Nixie, had told her a week earlier. There was a way out, a type of cure, but it would require her to die. Chapter 1, Glamis. Monday, the 2nd of October, 2034. Skye waited, leaned up against a cargo van outside of the warehouse. With a critical glare, she watched the two new recruits chatting one another up by the other van. They had just gone through the vetting process to make sure that they would never reveal the truth about this job. This was their test run. If either of them proved subpar, they would need their memories of the vampire world wiped. Skye had only cleared these hurdles 2 weeks ago. The sound of heavy boots on concrete announced the night shift supervisor, Kathy. She paired her high-visibility vest with a full face of makeup and styled her long bleached curls into a ponytail. Her fake tan and curvy figure hid the reality that she was, in fact, one of the undead residents of Glamis. She wasn't just any undead either. The community in Glamis called her the blood conductor because of the blood rationing system she had built over the last century. Skye was her familiar. Though Kathy's voice was hoarse, her Scottish accent and sweet red-lipped smile rounded out its edge. She spoke to the recruits. "Evening, loves. I'll be with you two in just a second." She swept on over to Skye. Skye pushed her purple box braids over her shoulder and mirrored the smile. "Hiya." "Hiya, dear." "How are you feeling about those two?" Kathy asked in a lowered voice. "Dunno. They'll be fucking each other by morning. I hope neither will take my spot." Kathy shook her head. "Like I said, you're going to stay my familiar. They're just here to help you. Demands doubled just this year. Poor Dom was scunnered by the end of it." Dominic had been Kathy's previous familiar and one of Nixie's friends. He had referred Skye to Kathy as his replacement, now that he was a vampire. "You think they'll be happy with that arrangement?" Kathy nodded. "If they aren't, then they don't get the job." Skye allowed herself to relax, though only marginally. Her new position as familiar felt unsteady. In Glamis, Kathy was the only vampire allowed a familiar in the past decade, due to the influx of undead seeking refuge and blood in the city. She only turned someone once every 5 years or so. Kathy lifted her chin towards the van Skye would be driving tonight. It belonged to the warehouse, unlike the usual delivery van, which Kathy owned and kept here. All the blood's been loaded. Usually the blood stayed in Kathy's van, from blood bank to delivery. She also had the van modified to appear totally off while its temperature system maintained the blood at 4 degrees. "Yes," Skye answered. "Cooling system working fine?" "Yes." "All right. You best be off. I'll be here when you get back." Skye fished out the keys of the warehouse van, unlocking it and entering. She paused to watch Kathy in the rearview mirror as she strode over to the two humans. Skye pushed away whatever worries remained and departed from the cold storage warehouse. Skye had to deliver almost 700 liters of blood weekly, though tonight she only had to drop off around 400. That didn't stop her from tensing up as she crossed the threshold of the industrial area into the wider city. She supposed that one day she'd get over the uneasy feeling of driving around stolen blood. She got an all-right wage for one night's work a week, but the big payment came at the end, when Kathy would turn her into a vampire. During her initial meeting with Kathy, Skye had said that she wanted to escape death, but omitted the niceties. It felt too personal to share the whole truth. Kathy was satisfied enough with the answer to take Skye in. Skye's first stop was a flat where Dominic lived. Since Kathy kept a delivery personnel human to minimize the risk of someone nicking blood, his recent turning had created a job opening. He, like his sire, was an enchanter. A vampire's type of magic was determined by who sired them. Enchanters were known for their psychic abilities. They were also the most common type, though apparently very few early generation enchanters remained. Why, Skye wasn't sure, but she did know earlier generations were more powerful. Perhaps that had something to do with it. Dominic was waiting outside, a cigarette between his smoking lips. He was a lanky guy, coated in tattoos, with slick hair dyed black. Skye found a parking and got out. "Hiya." He dropped the cigarette, killing it under his boot. "You're right." All good on my end. Skye headed to the back of the van, Dominic following. Got 2 potential recruits. We'll see how that works out. He leaned up against the van. Skye was tall, but he was like a palm tree compared to her. I doubt Kathy will actually bring one of them on. How come? Inga was the one who suggested it. She felt bad for me. Kathy's more worried about leaks, you know? Will be more work to make sure they stay solid. Well, you know Kathy better than me. Skye opened the back of the van and pulled out one of the boxes. Here's your rations. Thanks. Dominic took the box. Hey, you're performing at Blush this Friday, yeah? Skye shut the doors to the van. Oh, yeah. Cool. See you then. Also, Dominic scratched his stubble. Just so you know, I'll be at Mark next week. You can stop by there. For my delivery, I mean. Thanks for letting me know. She got back into the van and left. A couple of stops later, she reached the gay nightclub Blush. It had been Skye's haven when she first flung herself from English Coventry to Scottish Glamis. She wanted to find herself outside of the context of her family and hometown. With her family, even the half whom she loved, she was the transgender queer one with no parents. In the Coventry queer scene, she was one of a handful of people of color. Glamis, despite its comparable size, drew in people from across the world with its university and art scene. Blush had been at the heart of this queer diversity for decades. The nightclub had helped Skye find herself. Singing and dancing were hobbies she allowed to let slip during her teen years. They returned to her life through performing there for some cash. It's also where she met her friends, including Nixie. One of the more jarring revelations when learning about vampires was that not only was the person who owned Blush a vampire, but she was the most powerful one in the city, both politically and in her blood. The closer a vampire was to the first generation, which only had one occupant, enigmatically called the First, the more powerful they were. Almost all vampires in Glamis, including Kathy, were the relatively weak Adinamos, who belonged to the 11th generation or later. Blush's owner, Inga, was a 4th generation Sunborn. Sunborn were the rarest type of vampire, with only 5 in all of Glamis. They could be out in the daylight, turn invisible, become smoke, and the most powerful were also capable of generating solar blasts. Inga received her deliveries at Blush, which was open all nights of the week. Tonight, right in the only parking spot available, was a disheveled homeless man who had gotten an empty twin-sized pram stuck in the street gutter. Aren't those expensive? Where'd you get that? Oi! Teddy! Inga's voice pierced through the van's window. The vampire, with choppy blonde hair, hopped down the pavement to aid the homeless man. Teddy hurried away with the pram as Inga waved Skye into the parking space. Skye got out and headed to the back of the van. Thanks, Inga. She slid one of the boxes out and into Inga's hands. The vampire, who stood scarcely above 5 foot, held the 7-kilogram box effortlessly. How's the night going? Should be over earlier than usual. New recruits, Skye answered. Inga nodded quickly, her short fringe bouncing. Hope Kathy'll take them on. Would be better if you don't have to drop off boxes into the early hours of the morning. She said the population's doubled in just the last year? Yeah. Enforcers outside Scotland have been getting a bit more murdery lately. I thought they'd have calmed down. Guess they want to go back to solutions from the 1500s. All enforcers have the right to cull Adinamos if they deemed it necessary. Inga, Scotland's enforcer, didn't do that though. That's what made Glamis safe. Will we have enough blood for them all? Skye inquired. Inga shrugged, the box lifting over her chin for a moment. Kathy's good at making plans. You just focus on deliveries. Her head turned to Blush, like she'd heard something. Gotta go. See ya. Skye flew through her deliveries. Chain-wearing, chain-smoking enchanters rooming in a tenement. A sunborn couple in a luxury flat who'd recently adopted a human child. A few of Kathy's older familiars now weaved into the medical system's bureaucracy one way or another. Her ex-familiars helped her pull off the blood disappearing act as the system got more sophisticated. Skye supposed that she may need to slot into that system after she got turned. The thought of wiping the same minds and datasets weekly was enough to put her asleep. Still, it was a much better fate than Huntington's. The night eventually reached Skye's favorite delivery, a cat. The third and final type of vampire were shifters. They could transform into animals. The earlier their generation, the more animals they could take the shape of. They were relatively rare in Glamis, as they tended to prefer a rural lifestyle. Some even remained in their animal forms forever and stalked forests, hunting lonely hikers. When in their animal forms, they were also not in danger of sunlight. There were just over a dozen in the city, including one who had taken the form of a tawny short-haired cat going by Bastet. She lived a cozy life in a townhouse. She had not been in a human form for decades. The drop-off point for Bastet was an oak tree in Glamis's oldest graveyard, morbidly placed opposite its largest hospital. The graveyard was a regular haunt. Bastet sat by the tree, her fat tail twitching. "Hey, Bastet," Skye greeted as she set the box down. "Hope you're having a good night?" Bastet purred, circling the box. Skye was unsure of how and where Bastet stored the bags, but it seemed like she had a system that worked. A few more drop-offs later, Skye reached her final stop. This was another shifter, one who resided outside of the city. On the motorway leading out, the world quietened and darkened. The dashboard's digital clock said it was 11. The sky was overcast and moonless. Skye's luminescent yellow nail polish glowed against the wheel. She turned the music off. The dark, silent road was invitingly eerie. Her destination was a cabin in the woods, where a shifter called Benny resided. The cabin had chipped bricks, mismatched wooden roofing, and a barbed wire fence around the perimeter. This was the only delivery where Skye didn't have to directly hand the cardboard box over to the recipient. Apparently, Nipply Benny was not just an affectionate nickname. His cabin, unlit as always, showed no signs of life. Skye had asked Kathy if anyone ever did welfare checks on him. Kathy reassured her that Benny was as live as any vampire could be. Skye dropped the box off by the wire gate and hopped back into the van. Done for the night? She headed off. She was back at the warehouse just before midnight. Kathy waited inside, sipping on a maroon slushie. The other van was not back yet. Skye parked and hopped out, her bracelets clinking like a wind chime. "Hey, the other two aren't back?" "On their way. Done with deliveries, at least. But they only had half what you had." Kathy shook her head. As sweet as Kathy was, she did not like inefficiency in her system. "You get on home and get some sleep before class." "It's just sociology, I'll skip it," Skye said with a shrug. "Don't skip class," Kathy shouted. "I don't want this job to interfere with your education." Skye chuckled. "My flatmate's drinking will do more damage than this job ever could." An unfamiliar voice with a thick Irish accent interrupted. "Catherine, I presume." The two women pivoted in the direction of the voice. A figure stepped out of the shadows. Her movements were fluid, footfalls silent, and her unnaturally green eyes studied Kathy and Skye. She had unkempt ginger hair pulled into a low ponytail, a bulky backpack slung lazily over one of her shoulders, and her clothes were plain and worn. Kathy's posture tensed. "Who are you? How did you find this place?" "I just followed the van that was distributing blood." The stranger looked at Skye. "I assumed it would take me somewhere important." Skye winced. "You... what?" "No vampires are meant to know about this facility's location," Kathy stated firmly. Even past familiars had to get their location wiped from their memories before being turned. "Oh." The stranger gave their warehouse an impassive scan. "Whoops." "Who are you?" Skye asked. "My name's Kana," the stranger answered, voice monotone. "Folklore calls me the Dark Door." Daragdua? Skye echoed. Kenna's lips twitched into a faint smile. Close enough. Kathy's voice sharpened. Skye, go. Skye's eyes flickered between the two. She asked Kathy, "You'll be okay?" "I just have information to share. If I wanted to fight..." Kenna shrugged, looking to Kathy. "Well, I wouldn't have wasted my time with a conversation first." Kathy's eyes narrowed. "I'll be fine, Skye. You go." Skye did so. Both her worry and curiosity kept pulling her eyes over her shoulder. Kathy and Kenna had switched over to speaking Scottish Gaelic, a language Skye couldn't begin to decode. She exited the warehouse and headed for the nearest bus stop, where she took a seat. "She said she's in folklore." Skye took out her phone to search what Daragdua was, but she couldn't piece together how on earth to spell it. Just as she gave up on the search, the bus arrived. She was the only occupant of the driverless vehicle. She sat by a window and sent Kathy a message. "Hope all's good." When she was about halfway home, she got a reply from Kathy. "I'll explain what that was. Don't worry about it." I'm less worried, more curious, Skye thought. But she answered, "All right." She locked her phone and looked out to the city. The outline of her face reflected against the backdrop of passing brick buildings, neon signposts, and the nocturnal residents weaving through the streets. Chapter 2, Puggled. Wednesday, the 4th of October, 2034. The rain outside was thin, but persistent. The temperature at sunset had plummeted to 3 degrees above freezing. But the library was warm enough for people to shed their outer layers. After hours of studying, Skye decided to leave. She wrapped herself up, pulling on a jumper, coat, scarf, and gloves. She stuffed her study pad, which contained class notes and thousands of pages worth of pirated textbooks, into her backpack. She pulled up the hood of her coat as she ventured out of the library. The droplets picked up slightly. The clouds were a sallow shade of peach. She darted into an arriving bus, scanning herself in with her phone. She was home soon enough. Her flat was affordable, partly because of the dodgy location, but also because the building was the epitome of the function over beauty aesthetic that had taken over Glamis during the 90s. The shower even lacked a P-trap, which meant the bathroom eternally smelt of drainage. But the rest of the flat didn't smell bad. Or rather, it wasn't supposed to. Yet, when Skye entered, she was hit with a pungent odor. Grimacing and pulling her scarf up, she peeked into the kitchen to investigate. There, clumpy orange vomit pooled on the plastic table. "Ew! What the fuck?" Skye recoiled. She stalked down the hallway. "Amy! Amy, did you or your boyfriend Chanda in the fucking kitchen?" Amy's door was ajar. She lay sprawled face up on her bed, hugging a pillow. Her usually silky black hair was in knots, and she was wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt. Skye entered, dropping her backpack and stepping over a pile of vomit-stained clothes. "Amy!" She pulled the pillow away. Amy rolled onto one side. "Amy, wake up." All Skye got was a grumble. "Bloody hell." Skye plucked off her gloves and scarf and knelt by the bed. Amy's breathing was shallow and slow. Her face was bloated, lips puckered like a fish's, spit dribbling onto the fitted bedsheet. A funny face, for some, maybe. But Skye was growing concerned. She got out her phone. "Amy, I'm calling 999. "No," Amy whined groggily. Her hands reached out to limply slap at Skye's shoulders. "All right. Then 111. "Don't. Uppa." Skye had watched enough K-dramas in her teens to know that those words meant dad and mum in Korean. You want me to call your parents? Amy's protesting became louder, almost frantic. No one! Skye's brows furrowed. You don't want them to find out, then? Amy mumbled something and buried her face into the pillow. Skye released an exhale. Bloody fucking hell, Amy. I've got to get you some help. No, Amy pleaded. Her eyes opened, shining with fresh tears. No. Skye cursed under her breath. Maybe I'm being paranoid. She's responsive. She's probably fine. Okay, but next time you end up like this, I will call emergency services. No one! I said I won't! Jesus. Skye left, gathering her belongings as she did. She headed to her bedroom, depositing her items by her bed before beginning to pace. Leaving Amy in that state did not feel right. She was technically a first-year student. She had to redo her years, so one could argue otherwise. So this type of behavior was not out of the norm. In all likelihood, she would be fine. Yet worry nagged at the back of Skye's mind. What if she isn't okay? And I just left her like that? When Skye had begun a delivery job, Kathy had mentioned that she started the blood rationing system through her knowledge of healthcare, as she was once a nurse. I could ask Kathy for help. Skye searched her contacts for Kathy. She hesitated, glancing at a window. It was dark out, so she called Kathy. Hello? The vampire sounded a little sleepy. Kathy, sorry for the call, it's just... Skye trailed off. Belatedly, she worried that this might annoy Kathy and, in turn, put a job as a familiar at risk. Kathy's tone was gentle, but insistent. Skye, what's the matter? You were a nurse, right? Yes? Like, you've dealt with alcohol poisoning? Yes, of course. My new flatmate is really drunk. She threw up in the kitchen and is breathing weakly. Call emergencies. She practically screamed at me not to. Said something about her parents. Oh dear. I'm pretty sure she's okay. It's just... Can you come make sure? I don't want something bad to happen. But I also don't want her to get into shit with her parents. I don't know her situation. The hospital may not even tell her parents. I haven't been in the system recently, but she's an adult, and if it's not serious... Skye's voice splintered against her will. Kathy, please. Kathy paused for a moment. You make sure she's on her side. I'll be there as soon as I can, alright? Relief hugged Skye. Okay, I'll send through a pin. Thank you. She ended the call and went back to hover around Amy's doorway, watching to make sure she stayed laying on her side. Skye had never been a big drinker, and had avoided flirting with people eager to get intoxicated. She'd given Amy a chance purely because the last flatmate abruptly dropped out before the new term. It was only a month into them flatting together, and Skye was already regretting having Amy here. Kathy arrived promptly. Her hair was bunched up in a messy bun and her face bare of makeup. It was the first time Skye had seen her so underdressed. The vampire still wore her signature choker, though. A golden pendant with sapphires shaped into a star hanging on a black frill. While Kathy checked on Amy, Skye went to clean up the vomit on the kitchen table. She tied a scarf around the lower half of her face, but the smell and sight remained repulsive. It took everything for Skye not to heave up her lunch. Kathy stepped in. She's very intoxicated, but she'll be fine. Without hesitation, she joined in the cleaning. Kathy, no, Skye said. This must reek for you, especially. Then we better clean it up quick. Once the kitchen smelled only of bleach, Skye finally felt some ease. She looked to her mentor and smiled apologetically. "Thanks, Kathy. Sorry for making you come here." Kathy gave Skye a soft smile. "I came here of my own volition. Besides, I think this speaks good of your character. Most people wouldn't care. But if you want to make up for it, perhaps we can have some tea?" "Oh, yeah, sure. I'll bring it to the living room." "Perfect." Kathy pivoted in her sneakers, gliding out. "No sugar?" As the kettle boiled, Skye checked her phone. Nixie had shot her a text. "You performing Fry?" Skye smiled and replied, "Yeah, be at mine at 6 and we can head out together." An immediate response, "Yay! Yes!" Once the tea was ready, Skye entered the living room and set the cup on the side table closest to Kathy. The furnishings were a mismatch of styles and eras, all thrifted and all weathered beyond being charmingly vintage. They were just old and cheap. "Thank you, love." Kathy's long nails played with a choker. The vampire studied Skye's expression for a few moments. "I won't overstay my welcome. I promised that I would explain, well, our most recent addition to the Glamis community. While I'm here, I can do that." Skye sat on the edge of her couch, with her hands clasped over her knees. "Kenna?" Kathy nodded. "Early generation vampires tend to razzle me, even more so when they show up unannounced." She introduced herself as if I'd know her, Skye mused. "Why? Is she famous?" "In a sense. Her story has leaked out into folklore humans tell." Kathy took a slow sip of her tea before she continued. "Garagdua means red bloodsucker. I believe in reference to her hair. The story goes that she was a young lady who, despite loving a peasant boy, was married to a cruel chieftain of her village. Kana died, the humans say from his abuse or by suicide, but we vampires know that the first turned her. She arose a fortnight later and began picking off the villagers, one by one, until her bloodthirst was sated." Skye's eyes widened as the story went on. "Wow." Kathy smiled ruefully. "That's the myth anyway. Only she knows the whole truth. Humans believe that piling rocks on her grave keep her under the earth, but clearly that isn't true. So take what I say with a grain of salt." Skye thought back on how unassuming Kenna had looked. Her clothes, her small stature. The only overtly unsettling thing were her eyes. With this context, Skye better understood Kathy's reaction. "Is she dangerous?" Kathy's nose crunched up. "Well, a docile viper is still dangerous, isn't it?" She reinstated her composure. "Inga said that Kenna will be no trouble, and she has the final say on who can and cannot be in Scotland. Far as I know, she's not caused a massacre in the 1300 years since her turning, so I suppose I might be a bit too wary. But do let me know if she makes you feel on edge." 1300 years? Skye knew Inga was around 1,000 years old, and that was already unfathomable. "Okay, thanks." Kathy finished off her tea. "Well, I best head off, and you best get some sleep. I'll see you Monday." "Yeah, Monday." Skye stood up. "Thanks again for coming here. I know I overreacted, but..." Kathy raised a hand and spoke softly. "Love, don't berate yourself for caring." Chapter 3, Neon Black, Friday, the 6th of October, 2034. Electronica music emanated from Skye's speakers as she got ready for the night out. Amy had been yammering on about this electro grudge artist. A glance over the lyrics made it clear that they were no Ethel Cain, but their sound was addictive. For all Amy's flaws, of which she had many, she had good taste in music. Was it profound? Certainly not. But it was invigorating. Skye stepped back to admire herself in the bedroom mirror. She had her box braids tied up into a high ponytail, the purple end skimming the small of her back. Her shorts and crop top had yellow sequins that winked in the light. Her lithe frame led up to a diamond-shaped face with dark eyes that sparkled like onyx. She smiled to herself, her teeth beaming against her matte black lipstick. Skye's phone buzzed, lighting up with a message from Nixie. "Hello?" Skye cussed and turned off the music. She hurried out of her bedroom and flung open the door to her flat. "Sorry, Nix. Didn't hear you knocking." "How could you?" Nixie playfully lamented as he hugged Skye, his short stature pulling her down. "I had to make small talk with your neighbor." "Small talk?" Skye laughed. "So dramatic." Nixie giggled. "You're looking stunning tonight, by the way." "I better look stunning. I don't want to be outshone by you." "Oh, you flatterer." He peaked just over 5 foot tall, with a small, boyish frame. His strappily cut hair was blaringly white, as was his skin. Those thin eyebrows were practically non-existent, though his shining blue eyes were still expressive. When they had first met, Skye assumed his unique appearance came from albinism or some other condition. After he found out about her Huntingtons, he revealed the truth of the matter. First, supernaturals were real. Secondly, he was a water sprite, though his appearance was not like other nature sprites. He'd made a deal with a witch to appear more human-like. Third, he knew a way for Skye to avoid dying from her disease, to become a vampire. Tonight, solid black, shapeless clothes hung from him. Long, loose trousers, chunky boots, and a button-up trench coat. He called his aesthetic mime chic. Skye stepped to the side, gesturing for Nixie to glide through. He peered into the kitchen, and then the sitting room, arms clasped behind his back as he surveyed the surroundings. "Is your new friend around?" he asked carefully. Skye rolled her eyes. "Amy's not here." Nixie's shoulders fell as he sighed in relief. He usually liked oddballs, but Amy's intensity made him uncomfortable. "Thank fuck." "She's a bit much, yeah. She was sick on the kitchen table a few days ago." "Yuck." "So, where is she then?" "Seems her and James are making up." Skye looked to the ceiling. "I'm sure we'll all be lamenting that soon enough." "Ew." Nixie stuck out her tongue. "You didn't try to talk her out of it?" Skye shook her head. "I've got a cousin like her. That'd likely just make things worse." Humans are complicated. Nixie sidestepped into the kitchen, twirling to face the sink. He helped himself to a glass of water. It was the only thing he could consume. Everything else just resulted in a lot of vomiting. "How's the familiar job going?" he asked. "The recruits didn't stick," Skye replied. "You got any new recruits for this Monday?" "Looks like it'll just be me delivering for now." You think Kathy would be alright with me helping?" Skye arched brows, smirking. "Can you even drive a van?" "Of course I can." "Legally?" "No." Skye inclined her head in emphasis. Nixie took a gulp of his water. "Anything else interesting happened lately?" Skye grinned. Feigning nonchalance, she said, "Yeah. The drag duo showed up." The sprite sputtered. "The drag duo? Wow. What a legend. Was she scary?" "Not really. I think Kathy told me her story, and now I'm retroactively a bit freaked out." Wonder why she's here. Glamis seems too cozy for someone like her. Retirement, Skye offered sarcastically. Imagine, granny bloodsucker knitting scarves for charity. Do me in before the world gets that boring. Noted. Skye glanced to her phone. We should be off. Finally! Let's go join the other degenerates! Nixie chugged down the remainder of his water and got up, ready to go. Skye stood and grabbed her black coat as she stepped out into the energizing chilly night with Nixie. The two linked arms as they strutted down the street, ending plenty of stairs. On their own, each looked odd. Together, they were practically a parade of unapologetic, self-loving strangeness. The night was waking up. There was the early din of soon-to-be partygoers having prees in cluttered apartments, pubs filling with back-slapping patrons holding pipes, and lines of chattering students standing outside clubs with pulsating music. The brick buildings were illuminated with glaring neon signs, decorated with profane graffiti and vibrating to the sound of EDM. A tattered rainbow flag waved above the entrance to blush. A small queue had formed. Amongst them were two shifters wolfing down greasy chips. The bouncer was Amory, an African-American sunborn. She was tall, with corded arms and a buzz cut, currently concealed by a beanie. Rumor had it that she'd been in the U.S. military in her human life and a drug dealer's bodyguard in her unlife. She certainly had the glare to match the story. Go through, Skye, Amory said in a rolling American accent. Lisa's got the flu. You've been moved up. Skye drew in a sharp breath and stepped ahead of the line. Nixie hopped on behind her. Amory fixed Nixie with a frown. Not you. You can drop the act. I know you're not as mean as you look. Nixie grinned impishly. She's my friend, Amory. Please. You're not performing. You wait in line like everyone else. Skye flicked her braids over her shoulder, giving Amory a coy smile. Come on, Arms. I can't perform without my biggest cheerleader. If I jump a line, he does. Or maybe you want to wave some pom-poms for me? Amory rolled her eyes. She pulled her beanie down over her ears and, in the motion, subtly tilted her head to the door. Nixie grinned triumphantly before pushing ahead. Skye mouthed, "Thank you," to Amory as she stepped through. The narrow corridor gave way to the club. The scarlet floor was packed, as were the weathered lounge chairs. Between the DJ booth and stage was a space for dancing, and beyond that was the bar. It gets scabbier by the day, Nixie declared, as if in love. Allegedly, the VIP area upstairs was much less grubby. But even after years of performing here, Skye had yet to see it. She had noticed, however, that those who were let up there all happened to be people she delivered to on Mondays. Skye! Inga's voice pierced through the grungy dance music. Before Skye had even located the sunborn, she was being dragged by the arm to the stage. Nixie got lost in the fray. You ready? Inga asked, exasperated. Though usually untidy, Inga seemed especially off her game tonight. Her facade, which was illusion magic that concealed the effects of the decay on older or starved vampires, seemed to not be fully up, judging by how her usually round face looked sunken in. Yeah, Skye replied. Right answer. Inga stepped on stage, grabbing the mic off its stand. The clubbers redirected their attention to her as the music faded. The cold's getting you guys in here early, Inga said, setting a fist on her hip. Dancing's warming me up, called an already plastered patron. Inga snorted to that. Then this is going to be a long, warm winter at Blush. Here to help us heat up for the night is a woman who needs no introduction. We know her, we love her, the talented, beautiful, neon black. There was always a degree of disconnection that overcame Skye as she stepped onto the stage, lights and attention drawn to her as the crowd buzzed with anticipation. She took the mic from Inga, who vanished into the darkness that lay beyond. Skye pushed the mic onto the stand. Am I smiling? She thought, belatedly feeling the beam on her face. She shut her eyes. Her senses swung from dissociation to complete connection. The salty, sweet scent of the air, the heat of the blinding lights, the sweat beading on her forehead, the vibrating souls of the audience. The song she was covering was a new concoction of the old techno scene. First was a verse that Skye sang with purity, her delicate contralto weaving along the slow-paced industrial beats and riffs. Life is blue and crimson, like bruises bloodied by their cutting. Dance on to spite the bastards. Our spirit endures until we succeed, beckoning freedom. I would rather kiss in this darkness, starlit. Our bright futures are made in the present. We are visions, one day we will be sunlit, dancing until dawn. So be with me here, my shadow-embraced lover. We will dance on to fight the bastards. Rebel, riot, all is found within your taste. Moments of freedom. Then, silence. The music returned, this time faster, and accompanied by the distorted howls of an electric guitar. Skye shrugged her coat off and flung it off stage, causing the crowd to cheer. She grabbed the mic stand again, repeating the verse with urgency. Her brows furrowed as she upped her passion. She spotted Nixie, pushing his way to the front, her coat securely in his arms. The verse ended, the beats picking up. The rest of the song was instrumental. She stepped back, leaving the microphone in the stand. The song reached its climax, and she danced. The music inhabited her chest and throbbed in her limbs. She moved to the beat and twisted to the melody. It was a possession. She was 12 when she had her first big performance. Only a few months before, she had joined an after-school hip-hop dance club hosted at the community center. And now she was showcasing her talent. She loved the flicks of her braids as it echoed her motions, and the way her bracelets clinked to the rhythm of her heeled boots. She had pulled her hair into a slightly misaligned bun and dabbed her eyelids with leftover makeup from her mama's abandoned vanity case. Glamorous was not how she looked, but it was how she felt. Skye performed at only a few bars and clubs around Glamis. Really, she was a nobody. But in these moments, she felt like the world was applauding. Her papa had fallen badly a few days ago and had to watch the performance virtually from the hospital bed. At every moment she could, she looked at the phone her Auntie Marina was using to stream the dance. Her love for her papa poured through her glittering eyes. Her mother may have left her, but he never did. Not willingly. She ended the dance with a jump that landed into an effortless side split. The crowd erupted. When she visited Papa afterwards, he told her, in tears, that he'd never seen her smile as broadly as she did during that dance. He said he was proud of her and that no one could have asked for a better daughter. Chapter 4, Moonlight, Monday the 9th of October, 2034. C-E-A-N-A? I thought it was spelled like K-E-N-N-A. Kathy smiled. Wait until you see how Dracula is spelled. I searched up Irish vampire and found the spelling. Don't think I'll ever be able to learn any Gaelic language. Skye saved the contact. She was surprised, and a little impressed, that someone who predated the invention of glasses owned a phone. Kenna's arrival had rounded the vampire population to a neat 100. A liter of blood a day for each, 7 a week, equivalent to 140 human bodies. Luckily, those weren't actual bodies. This week, it was just Skye doing deliveries, so it would be a long night's work. Music, caffeine, and drop-off, addresses ready. She headed off. First stop was marked, the tattoo parlor Dominic worked at. Tattooing for vampires had to be done with silver needles or else they'd heal before the ink even settled in. That added an extra sting to the process. Not that it deterred Dominic, though. He had a fresh blackwork piece on his neck since he was turned. He met her at the back door. "Hiya. Good show on Friday. You look raw." "Thanks," she offered the box. Dominic scratched the back of his neck before he took the box from her hands. "I'm giving Fishface a tattoo tomorrow night." "Nixie's getting a tattoo? Of what?" "Anything. We just want to see if it stays after he turns into water," Dominic answered with a toothy grin. Skye smiled, shaking her head. "There's no iron in tattoo ink, is there?" "No, it's all good. Don't worry." They said goodbye, and Skye returned to her deliveries. The midpoint of the deliveries was at a flat located on top of a jazz lounge named Opaque. Emnilda and Adynamis Sunborn stayed there. According to Kathy, Emnilda had fled Poland 2 months ago after the local enforcer killed her sire and tried to do the same to her. She had dark olive skin, suggesting that her family may have immigrated to Poland. The Sunborn opened the door almost immediately after Skye knocked. Tonight, her wavy black hair was tied into a high ponytail, which sharpened her face. She had a pronounced jawline, high cheekbones, and thick brows, giving her an otherworldly type of beauty. "Hi, Neon Black." Emnilda's honey-colored eyes sparkled. "I liked your performance on Friday." "Oh, you were there?" "Blush isn't my usual scene. I didn't stay long." Emnilda took the delivery. "I performed downstairs. You should come watch. Support a fellow performer." That piqued Skye's interest. "That sounds nice, actually. I've not been to a pig in a while." Emnilda smiled, showing the pointed tips of her canines. "I'll see you there sometime, then." "Yeah, we'll be good. We'll chat soon." Skye headed back down to the van and left for her next delivery at the graveyard. Bastet sat waiting by the oak tree. This time her tail was wrapped neatly around her paws, making her look like one of the statues of her namesake. "Hello, Divine Protector," Skye greeted as she set down the box. Bastet meowed in approval. "Yes, I've done my research. Did you pick the name?" Bastet dipped her head in a nod. "Do you protect the graveyard?" The cat purred. Skye's instinct was to offer a hand, but this was not actually a cat. She wasn't going to insult Bastet by treating her as one. "Nice." Skye stepped back into a playful bow. "See you next week, your ladyship." Bastet hopped onto the box and puffed her chest out in pride. Skye could swear she saw a smile on the cat's mouth. Skye's deliveries went on into the early hours of the morning. Second last on the list was the red bloodsucker herself. She stayed on the outskirts of the city in a dingy flat built in the noughties. Skye put on some faux bravado before she exited the van and approached Kenna's flat. The door opened before Skye reached it. The vampire's eyes glowed more than Skye remembered. That's a decay thing, right? "Hello, Kenna." Skye held up the box. "Here's your first delivery." Kenna took the box and lazily pushed it onto the counter. "Thank you." Skye hesitated. She felt that she needed to say something more. "You adjusting?" Kenna's thin brow lifted. Skye clarified. "Are you settling in?" A faint, ghostly grin lifted onto Kenna's lips. "You should go. It's nearly 3. "Oh, yeah, of course." Kenna nodded before abruptly shutting the door. "All right. Suppose I could have gone worse." Now the last delivery of the night, Benny. It was a short drive from Kenna, but Skye's eyelids were growing heavy on the dark road. She turned on the van's semi-cruise control on the highway. She usually didn't like the self-driving features vehicles had, but this setting was useful for this dull stretch of deliveries. Benny's cabin was dark and quiet, as always. Skye quickly deposited the package at the gate and returned to the warm van. But when she tried to revive the car, it did nothing. A red message blinked on the dash. Battery at 5%. Plug in to make sure you'll make your return trip. What? After its use, the van should have been charging, so this shouldn't be possible. Unless those two recruits didn't plug the van back in, leaving it to run its temperature system the whole week. In Skye's sleepy state, she must have not noticed the red warning on the screen earlier on. Still, 5% would be enough to at least get to the edge of the city, but nothing she tapped was overriding the setting. Shit, stupid thing. The van then talked through its speakers. Battery at 5%, said its sickly sweet AI. Mine too, you wanker, Skye grumbled. She gave up and grabbed her purse. Please charge so that you can make your return trip. She dug out her phone to text Kathy. Battery dead. I need... The door flung open. Skye bit her tongue to contain a scream. There, with an arm over the driver's door, stood a broad-shouldered man. Despite the chill, he wore only torn jeans and a sleeveless top. The moonlight reflected off his coarse skin. He smelled like something between mold and a stable. Fuck, why didn't I lock the door? Without looking, she sent the half-written text to Kathy. The man violently snatched the phone from her and threw it into the bushes. She cursed herself for not bringing the silver spray Kathy had given her on their first night. Benny's lips pulled back to reveal crooked teeth, including 2 elongated canines. His eyes also shone, and his ears tapered into sharp points. Skye had yet to see a vampire fully flaunt their decay like this. His voice was gruff. You came later than usual. Yeah, I'm sorry, Skye said stiffly. Benny peered into the car, looking at the message on the dash. Wish I could help. I don't have electricity. That's okay. The vampire rubbed his unkempt beard, as if thinking. She could tell by the focus in his gaze that he wasn't deliberating anything. Why don't you come inside? I'd rather stay here. It's warmer. Benny reached over to unclick Skye's seatbelt. She tried to fight his arm back, only to have her wrist clamped in a bone-breaking grip. He plucked her out of the vehicle. She heard her phone ring as he dragged her away. Benny used his free arm to pick up the box. He kicked the gate open, the metal clattering, and tugged her along into the dark cabin. The smell hit her, smothering her. Why are you... Skye stammered as she tried to thread together a question. I don't often have guests. Kathy would rather... Benny barked a laugh. That a dynamis cunt? She's useless. These bags are shite. Damn near expiry. Benny flung Skye into her grimy couch. She swore she heard the scampering of a rodent above. Part of her felt relieved that it was too dark for her to see just how repulsive this place was. Benny tore the top of the box off and started to unpack the blood bags into a fridge. The white light was blinding. Guess he has electricity after all. She pulled the scarf over her nose to try to breathe through the stench. So, I'm a guest to you? Benny shut the fridge. Been wanting to have one of yous over. Why? I can help you. Skye dug her fingernails into her scarf. She had to hope that Kathy was on her way. I just got to buy time. What do you mean by help me? You shouldn't be an Adinamos. Benny stepped over to sit on a wooden stool. In the shadows, his glowing eyes was all Skye could make out. Why are you working to become one of those? And an enchanter Adinamos of all things. Enchanter's only good at stealing and lying. I have reasons. Benny made a noise akin to a growl.
Tell me, then.
Skye had to tell him something, but it needn't be the truth. I don't want to grow weak and die, so when I got offered the job, I took it.
That's it?
That's all? Benny eyed her.
Most young people don't think about that.
Youth makes you better at running, but death can still catch up to you. Benny spat on the ground.
Stop being a smart bitch and talk normal.
Keep you cool. My dad died young, so I've been thinking of death my whole life.
Being ethereal is no promise of immortality. You can still die. Benny's gleaming eyes narrowed. Especially if you're an adenomous worm. You shouldn't be working for that Kathy.
She treats me well.
Benny guffawed. I'm sure she tucks you in at night, gives you a wet kiss on the forehead. But she's no good as a master.
Skye frowned. She isn't my master, she's my mentor.
Familiars call their to-be sires masters. See, she doesn't teach you anything. And you'll become some 20th generation adenomous bitch.
She's actually a 14th
You have one chance to become immortal. Don't choose a fucked deal from the start.
Skye surprised herself when his words gave her pause. Benny seemed to notice that.
He leaned forward and smiled, his fangs shone with spit. I can give you a better deal.
I don't think we'd be a match in terms of familiar, and Skye didn't want to use the term master. It made her feel sicker than the odor of this place.
You won't be a familiar. Familiars are for vampires who can't wipe their own asses. I can turn you tonight. In 2 weeks you'll be up and running. Then I'll teach you.
Why would you do that?
I'm tired of adenomous slugs.
He pointed a finger at Skye.
You're a smartass, sure. You need to get that knocked out of you. But you're no slug.
You don't know anything about me. Skye doubted that he even knew her name. Benny bristled.
I can tell.
She was certain, then, that he didn't care who she was. She happened to be here, and that seemed reason enough for him to pick her. He'd strike her into whatever shape he wanted her to take. Fear and cold was making her shiver. She buried her face further into the scarf and forced herself to take a deep breath. She had to keep her nerve, but she also had to be careful. What would you teach me?
How to be a lupine. We're pack creatures. We work differently to the others. Got our own rights, laws.
Lupine. Skye surmised that you could transform into a wolf. Is it only you, currently, as a lupine? Are you lonely? Was what she was asking.
He sneered. There are others. Turned on me.
I'm sorry.
He stood up, a looming shadow. I don't need pity.
It's admiration, not pity, she corrected before she knew what she was saying. When she saw him hesitate, she spoke, calmer. You want to rebuild what you had. That's admirable. Ben's shoulders relaxed, even if just marginally.
You get it. You're getting it.
He stepped closer, blotting out the moonlight from the single window. It was as if the darkness followed him. I think this is rushed, though, Skye said. Please let me think a bit more, learn a bit more.
Got an eternity to learn after you wake up.
If that's so, then what's a couple more days to mull it over?
Benny was silent for a while.
Skye wished she could see his expression to get any inkling of whether her bargaining was working. His posture stiffened, and she felt her heart sink.
"You're toying with me."
Then his head jerked to the side. He snarled and rushed to the front door, shoving it open. Skye had a car come to a stop on the dirt road.
"No fucking way,"
Benny muttered. He almost sounded scared, but that quickly turned into anger. He stormed out, spitting Scottish Gaelic. Kathy? Skye wondered. But surely that wasn't possible, not so soon. Skye bolted to the doorway. She spotted a figure that was too short and skinny to be Kathy. And those green eyes. Kenna. The Durag Dua's cheeks were hollowed out, and she was bearing a set of large fangs. Benny had become hunched, his pale skin growing dark fur. He yanked his shirt off and propelled himself into a four-legged sprint, transforming into a large wolf. He neared the enchanter, growling, teeth ready to bite. And then he yelped in agony, falling to the ground, violently writhing. His cries filled the night. Those eyes stared without direction, horrified. Kenna idly swanted over to Benny. She stepped on his head, looking down at him. "Did you hurt her?" she asked. An animalistic whine came from Benny's jaws, managing to pronounce a barely understandable answer.
"No."
"Would you like me to kill you?"
"No."
Kenna took a step back. She gestured for Skye to come over. Skye did so. Kenna ordered Benny, "Get back into the cabin and stay there." "You mutt." She released him from whatever held him. He raced into the cabin, his tail tucked away and ears flat. Skye watched the darkness within the cabin door, as if he may launch out of it again. The opening of a car door broke Skye's fixation. Kenna stood by a red hatchback. She lowered herself into the driver's seat. "Wait, my phone!" Skye hurriedly searched the nearby bushes. It was so dark, though. Kenna stepped over beside Skye. The enchanter quickly located the device, picking it up and holding it out for Skye. The screen protector was shattered, but it seemed otherwise fine. "Here." Skye sighed in relief as she took it. Her fingers brushed over Kenna's, the cold of the vampire skin feeling like a sting. "Thank you." The pair headed to the car. Kenna started it and drove off. Even as Skye warmed herself up, her shaking worsened. The reality of how close she'd come to being turned was hitting her. "You'll show me the way to your home?" Kenna asked. "Yeah, of course," Skye murmured. "How did you know I needed help?" Kenna answered flatly. "Kathy called. She sounded panicked about Benny, so I said I'd go find you." "Thank you." Skye's eyes drifted to the car's sunburned dash, the tinkling beads that hung over the rearview mirror, and then a Disney-themed blanket strewn over the back seat. "This isn't your car." Kenna nearly smiled. "My neighbor's." "How'd you get the keys?" Kenna shook her head. "Kathy keeps you idealistic about this life. It's irresponsible." Skye wasn't sure how to respond to that. She decided it was better not to say anything. She slung her arms over herself and stared at the road outside, the amorphous tree line giving way to the lights and brick of the city. She muttered directions until they got to a complex. Once there, Skye said thanks to Kenna one more time before exiting. She walked with quickening footsteps. The memory of Benny's stench followed her. Once inside, she locked the door and broke into tears. She breathed herself out of a panic attack. I'm not going to get a wink of sleep.